My wife betrayed me but said I was paranoid, to doubt her, so I collected proof and exposed her. Then she tried to involve our daughter, but I secured full custody and kept all assets. I, 46 male, own an antique shop in Amarillo, Texas, specialized in authenticated Wild West and Civil War artifacts. Got into it after spending a decade grinding as an appraiser under some arrogant prick who thought every dented horseshoe was from Gettysburg. Eventually saved enough to rent a tiny space off I-40 and went from one-man hustle to a 3-employee operation. Regular customers, national collectors, and a few steady dealers keep the lights on. I don't drive a Lamborghini or wear Rolexes, but I sleep with the mortgage paid and my books clean. Met Andrea, 42 female, when I was 24. She was 20, looked like she belonged in a perfume ad, walked into my booth at a local antique fair with her aunt, asked me about a silver locket. We talked, she laughed at my dumb jokes, and gave me her number written on the back of a baseball card. Married a year later. At the time, I was still in my first house, 3-bed rancher I bought using a small inheritance from my granddad. Dad insisted on a prenup. He'd watched too many of his buddies get turned into roommates by family court. Andrea didn't love the idea, but she agreed. After a few arguments, we compromised. Anything I owned before the marriage stayed mine. Anything we built together would be split 50-50. I kept the house, the shop, and the inventory list off the table. She didn't work much in the early years. Eventually got a job managing a cosmetics counter at one of those high-end department stores. Her checks barely covered groceries, but it gave her purpose. Meanwhile, I put in 70-hour weeks. Recessions hit. Competitors folded, but I kept growing. Upgraded to a better storefront near downtown. Bought a second house 5 years ago. 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, clean yard. Andrea decorated the place like it was going in a catalog. We had a kid, Chloe, 2 years into the marriage. Beautiful girl, smart too. Used to tag along to the shop after school, helping me tag inventory or test pieces. By the time she was 10, she could call out a fake cavalry badge faster than some grown men in my line of work. We had routines, pancakes on Sundays, movie nights on Fridays, antique fairs twice a year. I'd drive. Andrea would wander the booths looking for aesthetic stuff for the house. I took them both to Italy for our 10th anniversary. That trip cost me $20,000 in a week of backed up orders. But I figured, screw it, marriage needs maintenance. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. Andrea started dressing different. Nothing wild, but noticeable. Heels for Target runs, makeup just to sit on the couch. Started taking more girls' trips with her old college friends. Houston, Dallas, wherever. Wouldn't post anything on social, but came home with new bags and stories that didn't track. She started locking her phone. I'd walk into the kitchen and she'd flip it face down. Laughed a little too hard at texts. Claimed it was work stuff. She used to be clingy, wanted attention, compliments, long hugs in the morning. That turned off like a switch. I asked her once if something was wrong. She said, "You've just been so busy lately. It feels like you don't see me anymore." I saw her. I just didn't like what I was seeing. Chloe changed too. She was always sarcastic. My fault, I guess. But around 14, it got worse. Started skipping our breakfast tradition. Ignored the shop completely. I asked her to help me on a busy weekend. She rolled her eyes and said, "No one cares about old crap, Dad." Andrea backed her. "She's a teenager. Let her breathe." I let it slide. The next year, Chloe broke into my study and pulled out my prized Winchester to show her friends. Documented piece from the Johnson County War, close to $30,000 with full providence. I found out through one of her classmates' Instagram stories. I confronted her. She laughed. Said it was just show and tell. Andrea said I was overreacting. "She's not hurting anyone," she said. "Stop acting like everything is life or death. It's not just a gun. It's history." But to Andrea, my shop was just a dusty job that paid for her lifestyle. The final straw didn't hit like thunder. It came quiet. Mike, my assistant manager, mentioned he saw Andrea having lunch at Cattleman's with some guy in a suit. Casual tone like he didn't know what it meant. She was real chatty. Didn't see the kids. Looked like a date. I smiled and nodded. Told him it was probably a friend from her store. Inside, I already knew. That same night, I checked our shared credit card. Lunch at Cattleman's, $163.42. 2 entrees, drinks, dessert, followed by a $220 charge at the Fairfield Inn, just 10 miles from the shop. Not a business trip, not a group outing, a hotel off I-40 with crap Yelp reviews and low lighting. I didn't say a word. I made copies of the statement, filed them in a secure folder on my laptop, and locked it with a fresh password. The next weekend, she claimed she was going on a spa retreat. I kissed her goodbye and told her to enjoy it. Then I checked the location services on the old iPad Chloe used to use. It was still linked to Andrea's Apple ID. She was in Amarillo. Same hotel, same gas station nearby, same timeline. That night, Chloe was texting like mad. A message popped up when she went to the bathroom. "Paul, can't wait to see you guys again next weekend." I asked her casually, "Who's Paul?" She got flustered. "Just one of Mom's coworkers." "Interesting. What does he do?" She shrugged. "Why do you care?" That sealed it. I didn't confront Andrea. I knew better than that. I needed evidence, not drama. That night, while she was out cold from her supposed spa day, I used the password reset on her old email and got into a backup Facebook account. It took 2 minutes. There he was. Paul, commercial real estate, Dallas, married, kids, photos of his happy family at the lake. Then I found the messages. "Andrea, I hate lying, but I love you more. I wish I'd never settled. Paul, let's get through the next 6 months quietly. Then we'll be free. Andrea, Chloe's already used to you. She loves you." That was it. I knew what I had to do. By sunrise, I'd already met with my lawyer. Same guy who drafted our prenup. We reviewed it line by line. House is mine, shop is mine, inventory, cash, equipment, mine, but the vacation home and the rental property, joint assets for now. I told him to start the process. I spent the weekend making moves. Andrea was still living in her fantasy world. Texts from Paul, fake phone calls with Kelly, stupid perfume she only wore when she went out without me. Meanwhile, I was transferring ownership of half my assets into shell LLCs and prepping my lawyer with everything he needed. First thing Monday, I had my bookkeeper audit the business inventory, liquid cash, and incoming purchase orders. I wasn't hiding anything, just drawing lines. Anything that came in after that day would be listed under a new company entity, BlackRock Antiques LLC, founded that morning with my brother as the registered manager. Technically legal, perfectly clean. The original business still existed, still had its name, still had its taxes filed, but now it was basically a storefront that didn't make money. That same day, I called the bank, pulled myself off the joint credit cards, froze the account she used most often, opened a new personal checking account under just my name with a debit card sent to the shop instead of the house. Then I sat down and took a full inventory of the house, not for sentimental reasons. I photographed and documented everything that came from before the marriage. Antiques, guns, books, memorabilia, family heirlooms, the leather sectional she used to brag about when people came over, anything bought after. I flagged that too, just in case. Tuesday, I told Andrea I needed a few days to go scout some inventory up north. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "Take your time, the space might be good for us." She thought she was slick. I drove 3 miles and checked into a Holiday Inn under a dummy name, brought my laptop, my files, and my burner email accounts. That night, I sent a Dropbox link to Paul's wife. Subject line, "Thought you should know. Body, this has been going on for at least 11 months. I thought you deserved the truth. Screenshots, hotel receipts, Facebook messages attached. I'm sorry you have to see this. Never got a reply. Didn't need one." That part wasn't about her. It was about making sure Paul's life burned with hers. Next day, I served Andrea the papers. I didn't do it at home. I had them delivered to her job. Couriers walked into that high-end makeup counter right in front of everyone, managers, co-workers, customers, and handed her the folder with a quiet for Andrea Miller. She signed without reading, realized what it was about 30 seconds later. My phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. She came home red-faced and shaking. "You humiliated me at my workplace," she screamed. I just looked at her. "You humiliated yourself." She demanded answers. I didn't give her any. I handed her the notice of discovery, told her everything she needed to know was in there. She said I was being dramatic, said we could work it out, told me I was being petty, that it was just an emotional connection. That night, she slept in the guest room, didn't hear a word from her. Next morning, she tried to act normal, made coffee, cooked eggs, called it a new start. I sat at the table and read the divorce packet out loud. Cause of divorce, adultery, request, full ownership of premarital assets, business inventory, and family residence, full custody of child with supervised visitation, spousal support, none. Division of marital assets as agreed in prenup. She lost it. "You're not taking my daughter from me," she yelled. "Funny," I said. "You were fine letting Paul play stepdad while you were gone." That's when she slapped me. Open hand, no hesitation. She immediately looked shocked, like she didn't think she'd actually do it. I smiled. "Good," I said. "Do that again in front of a judge." She stormed out. Within 24 hours, her parents were calling me. Her mom left a voicemail sobbing. "Please don't take Andrea's life away over one mistake. Think of Chloe." Her dad, a guy I'd golfed with 3 times a year, left a message calling me cruel and calculated. Said I should be ashamed for trying to financially destroy his daughter. I saved both messages to the legal folder. Mandy, her best friend, also texted me. "You've always been toxic. Maybe now Andrea can be free and happy." I didn't reply, just screenshotted it, uploaded it. She moved out 2 days later. Took 1 suitcase, a laptop, and nothing else. Claimed she needed time to think. Chloe didn't talk to me for the first week. Thought I was being mean to her mom. Andrea told her we were just working through something private. I didn't correct it. I wasn't about to drag a 15-year-old through legalese. That would come later. By the end of the week, Andrea tried one last Hail Mary, called me crying, said she made a mistake, said she wanted her family back. I told her the only mistake was thinking I'd let her walk away with anything. Andrea didn't fold. She lawyered up fast. Expensive firm out of Dallas. One of those boutique women's rights first outfits with flowery branding and zero courtroom bite. Her attorney showed up to the initial hearing in designer heels and fake concern trying to play the narrative game right off the bat. She's a devoted mother, a working woman with dreams. She made mistakes. Who hasn't? But surely we're not here to destroy her life over a temporary lapse in judgment. My attorney, Josh, sharp suit, no nonsense, didn't flinch. She's not on trial for judgment. She's being divorced for adultery in a fault-based state, and the prenup is ironclad. Andrea sat next to her lawyer like she was starring in a courtroom drama, kept dabbing fake tears, wouldn't look at me. Chloe was staying with her that week, and I'd already filed for temporary custody during proceedings. The judge looked at the affidavit, the messages, the photos, the business records, and granted it. That was strike 1. Strike 2 came when Andrea tried to block discovery, claim my surveillance and screenshots were invasive. Her attorney argued that her client's emotional well-being was at risk due to controlling behavior. The judge looked at Josh, who calmly dropped a printed timeline with geotagged receipts and iCloud backups. All legally acquired. Device was family-owned and synced. No expectation of privacy. Request denied. That night, she blew up my phone, called 7 times, left 4 voicemails, all variations of, "You're ruining everything. You're scaring Chloe, and this isn't who you are." I forwarded every message to the shared court folder. Pattern of harassment. She moved back into her parents' house after getting the temporary support denial. Claimed I was cutting her off. Her mom called my shop asking for money for groceries. I told her that Andrea could get a job or call Paul. Phone went silent. That week, Andrea went nuclear. She filed an emergency motion claiming the shop was community property. Claimed that her branding advice and emotional support helped build its success. Claimed she picked out the shelves, helped rearrange the displays, and made it welcoming for customers. Josh pulled out the shop's founding documents. Data formation, 3 years before we met. Inventory logs, tax filings, everything in black and white. Judge threw the claim out in under 10 minutes. She didn't show up to the next hearing. Sent a medical note saying she was too emotionally distressed to attend court. We had her served again the next day, this time at her parents' house. Chloe answered the door. Andrea stormed out, yelling at the process server that he was traumatizing her daughter. He didn't even blink, just handed her the papers and walked off. She made a public post on her new Instagram account. After 17 years of sacrifice, I'm being thrown away like trash. Ladies, protect yourselves. Comments turned into a pity party. Mandy jumped in with, you deserve better. He's always been a control freak. A few of Andrea's cousins liked it. One of her old co-workers commented something about narcissistic abuse. I screenshotted all of it. More public behavior. More evidence of manipulation. Meanwhile, I kept moving. Transferred the rental property title into the trust under my brother. That one was joint on paper, but 90% funded through pre-tax business earnings. Judge flagged it for review, but Josh argued co-mingled business assets and prenup exclusions. Case still pending. Andrea filed a new motion requesting emergency spousal support. Claimed she was unable to work due to stress. Attached a fake diagnosis from an online therapy site. Josh destroyed it in 5 sentences. No license provider signature. No insurance claims. No physical appointment record. Judge denied the motion. Suggested Andrea seek employment opportunities. Her next move, Chloe. Andrea started pushing her to testify against me in court. Claimed I was emotionally neglectful and cold. Chloe started repeating things word for word. Stuff no kid says unless it's drilled in. He never hugs me anymore. He doesn't support women. He just cares about money and guns. Josh filed for a court-appointed custody evaluator. Within 2 weeks, the evaluator had home visits with both of us. At my house, quiet, clean, structured. At Andrea's, chaos. Her mom yelling in the background. Mandy showing up mid-visit drunk off fake tears. Chloe mouthing off about how her mom deserves more respect. Evaluator's report leaned in my favor. Then came the leak. Andrea sent copies of our financials to a local dealer I used to subcontract with. Claimed I was bankrupt, closing shop, hiding cash. Dealer called me up asking if it was true. I laughed. Sent him a redacted version of our recent ledger. Booked solid through Q3. He sent me back a thumbs up emoji. Andrea's credibility gone. Week after that, I filed a civil counterclaim for defamation and business interference. Added the screenshots, the email, the damage estimates from my accountant. Judge didn't shut it down. Josh smiled. Andrea started unraveling after that. Filed another motion, this time claiming marital rape. No evidence, no police report, no dates, just a typed statement with her lawyer's signature at the bottom. Judge sealed the hearing. Josh didn't say a word, just handed over every chat log from the months she claimed it happened. Logs showing she was begging me to come home. Selfies she sent. Hotel receipts with Paul's name during the same time frame. Motion denied. The judge warned her about weaponizing serious allegations. That was strike 3. 3 days after the judge shut down her fake assault motion, Andrea switched strategies. She leaned hard into the devoted mother image. Started taking selfies with Chloe at coffee shops, tagging places they'd never actually gone. Captioned them with nonsense like, strong girls stick together, healing as a single mom life. She was building a case through her phone screen, one cringy, filtered story at a time. I wasn't playing on Instagram. I was working with my custody evaluator and family law expert. The goal was simple. Full custody. No joint anything. Supervised visits only. Chloe was still siding with Andrea. Not surprising, she is a kid, emotional, and getting fed a daily drip of how her dad didn't care and just wanted to win. Andrea's attorney requested a child testimony hearing. Claimed Chloe wanted to speak her truth. Josh objected immediately. Said she was being manipulated. The judge approved it, but ordered it to happen in private chambers under supervision, with no attorneys present. Neutral evaluator in the room. No theatrics. The testimony didn't go the way Andrea planned. According to the report, Chloe repeated Andrea's talking points almost word for word. When asked about my behavior, she called me cold and obsessed with his store. But when asked for specific examples, she stalled. Couldn't name a single instance of abuse, neglect, or emotional distance that didn't trace back to the divorce itself. Evaluator noted coaching and inconsistent narrative, then dropped the line that changed everything. The child appears to have adopted the mother's perspective, likely due to sustained exposure rather than independent reasoning. Long-term emotional damage is possible if not addressed. That single sentence gutted Andrea's custody push. In the next hearing, her lawyer tried to spin it, claimed I was alienating Chloe by withdrawing affection and refusing to engage emotionally. Josh countered with visitation logs, text threads, and a calendar showing I'd invited Chloe to weekly breakfasts, dinners, and shop visits, all turned down or ignored. Judge wasn't impressed with Andrea's arguments. He granted me temporary full custody and restricted Andrea's contact to every other weekend, supervised by a third party. Andrea lost her mind, stormed out of the courtroom, yelling about corrupt systems and patriarchal courts. Mandy was waiting outside, filming on her phone, trying to stir up sympathy. "We'll take this public," she shouted. "People will know what you did." Josh looked over and said, "Let them." Back at home, Chloe was cold, didn't say much. Stayed in her room most nights. Refused to eat dinner with me. I didn't push it. I just kept the routines going. School, meals, schedules. No yelling, no emotional appeals, just structure. After 2 weeks, she started asking questions. Why did the judge say Mom was manipulating me? I showed her the court statement in plain language. She didn't say anything, but she started showing up for meals again. Small steps. Meanwhile, Andrea went on the offensive again. She filed a motion for spousal support again, claimed I had been hiding assets in shell companies, trying to bankrupt her into submission, claimed financial abuse, a word she clearly picked up from Mandy's YouTube videos. She even accused me of creating a hostile environment for Chloe. Josh filed a counter motion with documentation from 3 licensed accountants. We submitted payroll records, tax filings, bank statements, and signed affidavits showing that all finances were fully traceable and within legal bounds. The LLCs all accounted for business assets, never touched marital funds. We even showed that I had been covering Chloe's medical bills, private tutoring, and all household expenses solo since separation. Judge didn't even let her side argue. Denied the motion again. This was when Andrea finally tried to negotiate. She called me one night from her parents' house. Calm voice said she wanted to find a way forward and get back to peace. Offered to settle everything quietly if I just gave her the rental property and joint savings. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said have your lawyer send it in writing. Josh read it and laughed. She thinks this is a hostage negotiation. We declined, countered with a new offer. I keep the house, business, and all premarital assets per the prenup. She gets a small one-time payout, no spousal support. Supervised visitation maintained. Public retraction of all false claims in writing. She rejected it. Then she made her final mistake. She filed a complaint with Child Protective Services. Claimed I was creating an unsafe emotional environment for Chloe. CPS showed up at the house midday, did a walkthrough, interviewed Chloe, asked her about discipline, household routines, schoolwork, meals. Chloe answered everything honestly, told them she had her own room, her own space, rules were clear, and nothing weird ever happened. CPS cleared me within 72 hours. Final report noted, no cause for concern. Compliant household, child appears well adjusted. Josh forwarded the CPS report to the court and requested sanctions for harassment and abusive process. Judge approved a hearing to discuss punitive action against Andrea. At this point, Paul had completely disappeared. No contact, deleted socials, probably got burned from both ends. His wife filed for divorce and his firm terminated his contract. According to a mutual contact, he moved out of Dallas and was laying low. Andrea hadn't mentioned him in weeks. Meanwhile, Chloe was slowly waking up to reality. She stopped defending her mom every second, started noticing the lies. Mom told me you froze her accounts, but the court said she had her own cards. She said you wouldn't let her see me, but the judge ordered the weekends. I just showed her the paperwork. No lectures, just facts. Andrea backed into a corner, filed for a continuance, claimed she needed time to emotionally recover before proceeding. Judge granted her 2 weeks. We used it to file for final division of property and finalize the asset logs. 2 weeks after Andrea's CPS stunt got tossed and her third spousal support request died in court, the final hearing got scheduled Thursday morning, 9 a.m., Civil Court 3B. I showed up with Josh and 2 thick binders, one labeled assets, the other conduct. We weren't hoping for a win, we were delivering it. Andrea showed up 15 minutes late wearing a designer knockoff dress, oversized sunglasses, and that same performative sadness she'd been weaponizing since the start. Her dad walked in behind her carrying a manila folder like it was going to change anything. Her mom was already sniffling. Mandy was outside with her phone in hand, pacing like a rejected reality show contestant. She wasn't allowed inside, restraining order still in place from her hallway outburst. Judge entered. No opening fluff, just docket number, both party names, and straight into the final arguments. Andrea's new lawyer opened with a Hail Mary, said the prenup had been unconscionable, that Andrea was young, emotionally inexperienced, and had no legal counsel of her own, claimed it should be voided entirely. Josh stood, didn't say a word, just walked a signed affidavit to the bench. Original attorney signature, full explanation, dated 2 weeks before the wedding. Judge glanced at it, gave a single nod. Prenuptial agreement stands. Property listed therein remains the sole ownership of Mr. Miller. Plaintiff's motion is denied. Andrea didn't blink, just clenched her jaw like she'd practiced the look. Her mom mumbled something about the system being broken. Her dad sat still, lips pressed tight. Next came custody. Josh handed over the custody evaluator's final report and a 6-page summary that included Chloe's attendance logs, message transcripts, school reports, and 3 documented attempts to schedule parenting time, all rejected by Andrea or Chloe with no valid reason. The evaluator's statement was clear. Minor child shows signs of emotional coaching and stress related to maternal influence. Paternal home demonstrates structure, availability, and consistent emotional boundaries. Recommend full legal and physical custody remain with father. Therapeutic reintroduction of maternal visits under supervision is advised. Andrea's lawyer argued that cutting a mother out of her daughter's life is extreme. Claimed it was punishment, not protection. The judge looked up. Punishment would have been court sanctions for lying to CPS. This is placement for the child's best interest. She ruled immediately. Mr. Miller is granted full physical and legal custody. Mrs. Miller will have supervised visitation every other Sunday, to be arranged and chaperoned by a third-party provider at her expense. Court review in 6 months. Andrea stood up like she was about to deliver a speech. This is disgusting. He's stolen everything. I gave my life to this marriage. My body, my youth, my best years. The judge banged the gavel once. Mrs. Miller, sit down. She stayed standing. This man isolated me, manipulated everyone, and now he's taking my daughter away based on lies and spreadsheets. Josh stepped forward and handed the court one last exhibit, printouts of Andrea's public social posts, calling me abusive, controlling, narcissistic. We had screenshots of Mandy's comments, even a few from Andrea's cousins joining in, all dated during the proceedings. One even mocked the judge by name. The judge reviewed it without a word, flipped through each page, then addressed the courtroom. Mrs. Miller, this is your warning. Weaponizing public opinion against legal proceedings is not protected speech when it endangers custody or reputation. You are hereby fined $8,000 for business interference and false claims. You will also submit a formal written apology to Mr. Miller in the court. Deadline 10 business days. Andrea's face flushed red. She looked at her lawyer. Her lawyer didn't move, just packed her notes into a leather case and sat down. I won't write anything. This is all rigged. The judge didn't react. Failure to comply will result in an additional $2,000 fine and court-ordered collection. You're welcome to appeal at your own expense. Hearing dismissed. Gavel dropped. Andrea stood in silence while we packed up. Her dad mumbled something about injustice. Her mom just cried. I walked out with Josh. No words between us. We didn't need any. Outside, Mandy tried to record us. How does it feel to ruin your family? You feel like a man now? Josh smiled. He feels like a man who owns everything. We got in my truck. I dropped Josh at his office, thanked him, and went home. Chloe was already there, home early from school. She was sitting at the dining table with her backpack open, working on some biology project. I didn't say anything, just made a sandwich, poured some iced tea, and sat across from her. She looked up after a minute. Is it over? Yeah. She didn't cry. She didn't celebrate. She just nodded once and went back to her project. It was enough. That weekend, she asked to go to the old breakfast place we used to hit when she was younger. Saturday at 9, she picked the same booth we used to sit in, ordered the same blueberry pancakes. We didn't talk about her mom. We just ate. Andrea filed an appeal the next week, got denied. She tried to delay the apology letter. Judge added another $2,000 fine and had the clerk issue a court garnishment. That month, Andrea's work contacts dried up. The boutique cosmetics place she used to manage didn't take her back. Her cousin tried to get her a position at a realtor's office, but that fell through after the manager Googled her name and found screenshots posted on a family court forum. Her cousin saw me at a flea market one weekend, walked up, looked like he was carrying a weight. She's living with her sister now, jobless, says you destroyed her. I nodded once. She did it herself, I said. I just stopped cleaning up after her. I walked back to my booth and finished my inventory sheet for the next regional trade show. Behind me, Chloe was explaining to a customer the difference between a real 1880s cavalry pin and a modern knockoff. 2 months after the court finalized everything, I started seeing her name pop up again, but not in court docs or Chloe's texts. This time it was online. Andrea had made a public TikTok account. She was calling herself the Forgotten Wife. Profile picture was an old filtered headshot from when we took that trip to Santa Fe. Bio said just a woman rebuilding after betrayal. Mandy was in the comments hyping every video. First one was her staring out a window, typing a long caption over soft music about losing her identity to a narcissist. Got a few hundred views. Second one was a crying selfie with some rant about being erased after giving everything. Didn't take long for people to start asking questions. Someone found a clip from the courthouse hallway, Mandy's recording, where Andrea was yelling about the judge, the business, and Chloe being ripped away. That clip ended up stitched into a reaction video by some local gossip page. Next thing you know, the story was getting torn apart by commenters who knew me, knew my business, or had seen the court ruling documents that were still part of the public record. She didn't get sympathy. She got roasted. One guy commented, "Didn't you cheat and get caught? That's why you lost everything, not because you're a woman." Another one linked to a business article that featured me in my shop last year titled "Preserving the Past, Amarillo's Antique Authority." Andrea deleted the videos within 48 hours. Her account went dark. Mandy tried to repost them on her page. Same result, deleted and ratioed into silence. Back in real life, Chloe had started helping more at the shop, Saturdays mostly. She handled customers, cleaned display glass, logged items into our new POS. I gave her a small percentage of weekend sales. She saved most of it. When a guy tried to offer her a lowball on a Civil War bayonet, she shut him down instantly. You're confusing rust with age. That piece is 1862 Union Army, not surplus. That's the price. Take it or leave it. He left it. She didn't care. That weekend, Andrea showed up at the shop. No warning, no text, no call. Just parked out front and came through the door like she owned it. Chloe was at the counter labeling item tags. I was reorganizing a display of powder flasks when I heard the door chime and saw her. She looked thinner, hollow under the makeup, hair done like she was going to church. She walked straight past Chloe like she wasn't standing there and came right up to me. "We need to talk," she said. "No, we don't. I'm serious. You're not going to ignore me in front of our daughter." Chloe didn't look up. Andrea raised her voice. "You ruined my life. You turned Chloe against me. You took my home, my future, everything." A customer in the back turned toward the noise. Another pulled out their phone, started recording quietly. I didn't stop them. "You think you're the big hero now?" She kept going. "This fake little shop doesn't make you a man. You're pathetic." I walked past her, opened the door, and pointed outside. "Leave now." She stood there for another 10 seconds, breathing like she was about to blow out windows, then stormed out, slammed the door so hard one of the display cases rattled. The video hit local Facebook groups that night. The title was simple: "Ex-wife of antique dealer causes scene in front of daughter and customers." It got shared over 2,000 times in 24 hours. I didn't need to comment. My regulars flooded the post with support. Old customers I hadn't seen in years came back to the store that week, some just to shake my hand. She really thought that would make her look good. I'd buy something just to keep this place running longer. "That girl of yours, She handled it better than most adults. Business jumped 18% that month. I had to order new inventory just to meet demand. Andrea tried to issue a response video on her backup Instagram, claiming the video was edited out of context. That post was down within a day, flagged for harassment. Then came the email from her sister's account. One line. Andrea is asking if there's any way to renegotiate custody if she agrees to the apology and the fines. Josh replied directly to her lawyer. Client is not interested in renegotiating a finalized case. All judgments are closed. Further contact will be considered harassment. Nothing came back after that. 6 weeks later, Chloe got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a typed note from Andrea begging her to meet up away from your father's influence. Chloe ripped it in half and threw it out. Didn't ask what to do. Didn't look sad. Just said she doesn't get it. She doesn't. I saw Andrea once more in passing at the pharmacy. She was picking up a bag of generic cold meds. I nodded once. She looked away. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She'd already lost the house, the business tie, the daughter, the court. Her name was poison in half the city. Mine was on the store's window. The deed, the title, and every document that mattered. That's how you win. Not by yelling, not by arguing. By letting the facts stand, the courts speak, and the fools hang themselves in broad daylight. 6 months after the final hearing, things were back to quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes with loss. This was earned silence. No new motions, no calls from her lawyer, no more social posts begging for attention. Andrea had disappeared. Word around town said she was working part-time, cleaning offices at night. Her sister had kicked her out 2 months prior after they fought over bills. Mandy burned her last bridge and moved to Fort Worth. Nobody missed her. Meanwhile, the shop was doing better than ever. I had enough orders to bring in a 4th employee, started restocking Civil War gear from a contact in Georgia, and got invited to a National Collectors Expo in St. Louis. I wasn't chasing success. It just came once the baggage was gone. Chloe was thriving, grades up, attitude leveled, and back to being sharp in the shop. She had an eye for detail. Most adults didn't. Started cataloging inventory with custom tags. Even suggested moving the vintage uniform section to its own wall. I let her take over that project. She nailed it. That's where Sarah came in. She was at the shop one afternoon asking about cavalry saber replicas. Mid-30s, dressed simple, spoke like she knew what she was doing. I asked if she was a collector. She said she restored items for museums. Turns out she worked freelance with a historical conservation firm based in New Mexico. Specialized in textiles and edge weapons. Knew exactly how to spot a fake without needing a loop or a guidebook. I offered to show her the backroom collection. She stayed for 2 hours. Next week she came back, brought a weathered canteen to get my opinion. Chloe was there and Sarah asked her what she thought. Chloe studied the markings, flipped it, and said, "It's real Confederate side. Dent matches impact charts from older models." Sarah grinned. Smart kid. That was the start of it. We didn't date immediately. I wasn't in a rush, but she kept showing up. Not clingy, not nosy, just present. Helped me identify fake belt buckles. Showed Chloe how to photograph items for online catalogs. Cooked once. Beef stew and homemade bread. No speeches. Just left it warming in the shop kitchen. Chloe started asking if Sarah was coming in on weekends. One Saturday, she told me, "You should bring her to the show in San Antonio. She'd know what to look for." So I did. Sarah flew out with us. She spotted 2 fake insignia badges before lunch, helped negotiate down a seller on a bundle of canteen straps, and found a Union officer's coat in better condition than anything I'd seen in 5 years. Chloe stayed glued to her side most of the day. That night in the hotel, Chloe said, "She doesn't act like she's pretending to care. She just fits." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Back home, Andrea tried once more. Sent a letter. No return address again. Said she was ready to forgive me. Said Chloe deserved her mother back. Said we should stop this madness. I sent it straight to Josh. He added it to the binder. Labeled residual contact attempts. Sarah never asked about Andrea. Never probed. Never fished for details. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was just better in every single way. Understood my world. Respected my time. Held her own in conversation. She once told a guy at an appraisal fair that his fake Colt Navy was embarrassingly obvious, then backed it up with serial numbers and era-matched tooling marks. She was sharp. She didn't need me, but she wanted to be around. Chloe started asking to go to her house on Sundays. They'd cook, sort through junk jewelry from estate sales, clean old photographs. One afternoon, Chloe brought home a rusted spade from Sarah's shed and said, "We should restore this together." I nodded. Next day we did. Andrea, she showed up once more, caught me at a gas station. No makeup, messy hair, shaking. Asked me if Chloe could just come live with her for one summer. "No," I said. She cried loud, right in front of the store entrance. "You replaced me. You're disgusting." I didn't answer. Just got in my truck and drove off. That was the last time I saw her in person. Sarah and I never had to define anything. She moved in after 9 months. Quietly, Chloe helped unpack her tools. I didn't marry her right away. I didn't need the ceremony. What I needed was already there. Respect, teamwork, peace. That was the revenge. Not yelling. Not revenge porn. Not petty shots. Just building something real after a fraud collapsed. I kept everything. The house, the shop, the legacy, the daughter. Andrea kept nothing. And that's the ending she wrote for herself.